We're going to learn how to do calculations with both simple interest and compound interest, and then we're going to be able to compare the two different results. So this says that we're going to take a loan of $8,000. We're going to pay it back in full 3 years later. I want to point out that this does not account for making payments each month for 3 years. That's going to be a different formula. We'll see that in a later chapter. For this one, we're going to assume that you just pay back the entire amount at one time 3 years later. We are going to be charged an annual interest rate of 6%. And then for part A, we're going to calculate assuming simple interest. In part B, we're going to use compounded interest quarterly. Okay, so for part A, we're going to use the simple interest formula, which is I equals PRT. So I is going to be the interest amount. P stands for the principal. Principal is the amount that was loaned or borrowed at the beginning. So that's $8,000. The R is the interest rate, and our annual interest rate here is 6%, so 0.06. And then T is the time. In this case, we had 3 years. And so if we go ahead and put this in our calculator, we get a total of $1,440. And that would be the interest amount. So the interest amount that we owe is $1,440. And if I want to know then the total owed, well, that would be the original $8,000 plus the interest, and that would be a total of $9,440, and that's the result of borrowing this for 3 years. Nice and easy, simple interest here, simple formula. Problem is, of course, is that most real-world situations, the interest they use is not simple interest. So let's now do the compound version. The compound interest formula is a good bit more complicated. It's A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the NT here. So the P is the same as it was before, it's the principal. The R is the interest rate, same as it was before. The T is the time, same as it was before. However, the N is how many times you're going to compound each year. Also, the A is actually not the interest amount, it is the amount total owed at the end of the 3 years. So we would say, okay, 8,000 was my principal. My rate was 6%. How many times am I going to go ahead and compound this per year? Well, it says quarterly. Quarterly means 4 times a year. If it had said monthly, it'd be 12 times a year. If it said annually, it'd be 1 times a year, and so on. And then my N is 4, my T is 3 years. Now you do want to be careful when you're putting this in your calculator. It's very easy to mess something up, maybe forget a parentheses or so on. So just be very careful with this. Double check your answer, especially when you have the exponent there. And according to my calculator, we're going to get a total amount here of $9,564.95. And again, this formula, it gives you the total amount owed. It doesn't directly give you the interest owed. So again, that's the total amount we owe at the end of 3 years. If I want to find the interest, well, I just go ahead and subtract off the amount I borrowed, the $8,000. And if I do that, I get a difference of $1,564.95. And notice that by going from simple interest to compounding quarterly, I ended up paying an additional about $125 roughly. You know, $1,564.95 minus $1,440. So it's about $125 extra, not changing the interest rate, not changing the number of years. The extra $125 is entirely from going from simple interest to compound interest. And you can just imagine how much more serious it'd be if we had, say, a car loan or a mortgage, say, over 30 years. It's going to be a much bigger difference between simple versus compound interest.